Somebody asked me yesterday, why do I get so angry? I'm going to tell you why. Because of situations like what happened to Adriana Smith. Sadly, she passed away last night. And they took the baby out of her, which was just over a pound. And that baby's going to be in the NICU, probably for a few months. See, and all of you people that said, I'm so pro-life because of the heartbeat bill in Georgia. And I'm going to say this as a person of faith. You're Pharisees. You're religious hypocrites. You're forced birth. You don't care about life. Because that family is going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills because of your religious agenda. And once that baby's born, if it has special needs, which it probably will because of how the baby was incubated, that's what it is. They used her body as an incubator. Gilead. You don't care because you wanted to destroy the Department of Education. You don't care if that child is unalived in a school from firearm violence. You don't care if that child has a living wage. You don't care if that child has health care. You don't care about anything about that child other than it made you feel good and it pushed your white Christian religious ideology to populate the world. You didn't care about the life of Officer Sitnick. His family will never, ever, ever see their dad again, and you ignored that. Jean Carroll and many, many, many millions of women in this country, sadly, that are victims of sexual assault, every day know that you voted for a president that did that. Amber Thurman's not here because you overturned Roe versus Wade with your vote because you're so pro-life that her state in Georgia wouldn't give her the health care she needs. In Texas, women have a 50% increased sepsis rate because of Roe versus Wade. All of the officers that were injured and have long-term disabilities on January 6th, some of them will never work again. Some of them have brain damages and they're on long-term disability. And that wasn't a red line for you. You have Mike Lee mocking what happened to those senators in Minnesota. And the president won't even call. You had people on the far right mocking Paul Pelosi with the hammer. People like Eric Trump. You know what? And through all of this, you just sat down and said nothing. And now we have people that are good people whose documentation maybe isn't right. They've never committed crimes. And they're getting snatched off the streets in unmarked cars. Senators being handcuffed. That's why I'm pissed off and angry. And you know why you're not angry? Because it didn't happen to you. See, I'm a love thy neighbor kind of Christian. I wouldn't even consider myself religious, a person of faith. I cared about all those lives, even though they didn't directly affect me. And see, the difference is if every example that I just gave you would have been your mom, if your mom would have been E.G. Carroll, if your dad would have been Officer Sitnick, if your grandma would have been Audriana Smith, then you would give a damn. But you don't, because it didn't happen to me. So you don't give a shit. That's why I'm angry. Because so many of you white Pharisees, modern day Pharisees who put Jesus up on the cross, that preach about love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love does not boast. How are you supposed to love thy neighbor? And all you do is love thyself. And then when someone like me comes on here and says the F word or is upset or raises his voice, Paul, why are you so angry? I'm angry because you don't give a shit about anybody except for yourself. And it's sad that we have so many selfish people in this country. Me. And I'm going to continue to be pissed off and angry. You know why? Because there's a lot of people in this country that don't have my type of personality. I grew up with the bully. The only way to defeat a bully and to cause change is to go after them. And there's a lot of people that I've come to realize that don't have my personality. And I do this for you. I get nothing out of it because I'm not a selfish prick. I do it because it's the right thing to do. That's what being a patriot is. That's what being an American is. That's what being a damn good neighbor is. And for all of you white supremacist MAGA red hatters, you know what the difference is between you and I? You care about the flag, the image of the flag. I care about the people that the flag represents, and you don't. That is the difference between the two of us.